China is developing a massive nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, which could rival the largest vessel in the American fleet.
Imagine waking up one morning, and America's shipbuilding boom has hit a wall. China's growing fleet is racing ahead, leaving the U.S. in the dust. America's shipbuilding boom, once the pride of our nation, now faces the cold, harsh reality. Sky-high costs, a lack of skilled workers, and a ticking clock that's counting down fast. Meanwhile, China's growing fleet is expanding faster than ever, using every advantage: cheap labor, government subsidies, and an iron grip on the global supply chain. This isn't just about ships, my friends. It's about national security. It's about jobs. It's about the future of every American family. Think about it. If we fail to act now, China's growing fleet will dominate the seas, and America's shipbuilding boom could sink before it even sets sail. But if we get it right, if we invest smart, train skilled workers, and rebuild our supply chain, America's shipbuilding boom can rise again as the world's shipbuilding powerhouse. Because this is not just a story about ships. It's about U.S. It's about our jobs, our security, our pride. So here's the question. Who will rule the seas? America's shipbuilding boom or China's growing fleet? Let's dive in and find out together. Before we jump in, hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to EcoNatlas for more deep insights into America's economic battles. But why did America fall behind? Why did the once mighty America's shipbuilding boom, once a shining symbol of strength, end up drifting in the shadows of China's growing fleet? Let's dive into the hard truth. First, let's talk about the cost of labor. In America, skilled workers demand a fair wage. Rightly so. But the costs have soared. Welders, machinists, and ship fitters earn wages that make every rivet, every hull, every deck plate more expensive than ever before. Compare that to China's growing fleet, where cheap labor is the secret sauce powering an assembly line that never sleeps. Over there, workers are paid a fraction, pushing China's shipyards into overdrive. And that's not all. America's shipbuilding boom is also being dragged down by aging shipyards. Factories that once churned out the pride of the U.S. fleet now stand rusted and outdated. In some places, entire docks sit idle, waiting for a revival that just hasn't come. Meanwhile, China's growing fleet benefits from brand new facilities, state-of-the-art, modern, efficient, built with massive government subsidies. China is betting big on shipbuilding. Are we? Now let's talk about the biggest pain point: skilled workers. Look around. How many young Americans do you know dreaming of becoming a shipbuilder? Everyone wants to be an influencer, a tech star, a YouTube sensation. Nobody wants to be a welder. I've read the comments. No one wants to be a welder or machinist. It's too late. It's too expensive. That's the raw frustration we're all feeling. And you know what? Those comments hit home. Because they're true. If America doesn't act now, if we keep ignoring the shortage of skilled workers, the aging shipyards, the high costs, China's growing fleet will not only dominate the seas, but will also dominate America's economic destiny. This is not just about steel and rivets. It's about national security, jobs, and the lives of American families. Imagine losing even more ground to a country that's already building more than half the world's ships. Can we afford that? But here's the good news. There's still time. There's still a chance for America's shipbuilding boom to rise again, but only if we understand the problem and fix it fast. Invest smart. Train skilled workers. Modernize those aging shipyards. That's the only way to take back our future from China's growing fleet. because the seas won't wait, and neither should we. So, can America's shipbuilding boom catch up and take back the seas? Let's keep going and find out together. But how can America's shipbuilding boom fight back against China's growing fleet? Is it even possible? Let's get real about the solutions that could turn the tide. First, let's talk about the Ships for America Act. This landmark legislation is pumping life into America's shipbuilding boom, offering tax incentives that make it cheaper and faster to build ships right here at home. No more excuses. No more delays. This is a call to arms, a call to the welding torch, the rivet gun, and the hammer to rebuild the backbone of American industry. But is it enough? Skeptics are everywhere. I've seen the comments. Too little, too late. China's too strong to beat. Those voices are loud, but they can't be the final word, because when America puts its mind to something, nothing can stand in its way. And that's why it's not just about the act. It's about modernizing shipyards. Some of America's shipyards are rusted relics of the past, but with the right investments, they can be transformed into state-of-the-art facilities. Imagine the welding robots, the AI-driven assembly lines, the laser precision, all coming together to bring America's shipbuilding boom back to life. And let's not forget about people. America's shipbuilding boom can only succeed if we bring in new blood. Young Americans with skills, with passion, the future welders, machinists, and engineers who will build the ships that defend our freedom. We need to make shipbuilding a career to be proud of again, a badge of honor, because right now, no one wants to be a welder. But with the right training programs, apprenticeships, and incentives, we can change that. We must change that. And if you're still wondering if it can be done, remember World War II. When the chips were down, America's shipyards turned the tide of history. We went from rusty docks to the most powerful fleet the world had ever seen. We've done it before. We can do it again. Imagine what that means for American families. Imagine your son or daughter getting a good job in a booming shipyard, building the ships that keep our country safe and strong. Imagine the pride of seeing Made in America on the hull. Imagine a future where America's shipbuilding boom leads the world once more. This is more than a comeback. It's a fight for the soul of our nation. And guess what? It's a fight we can win. So what's next? We're not done yet. Let's talk about the risks that China's growing fleet poses and why we can't afford to ignore them. But what about the danger? What about the threat that China's growing fleet poses, not just to America's shipbuilding boom, but to every American family? Buckle up. This is where it gets real. China's strategy is anything but accidental. They're not just building ships, they're building power. By using commercial technology, China's shipyards can churn out LNG carriers and container ships by the dozens. But here's the catch. Those same shipyards can easily switch gears and produce military vessels. Imagine a world where a seemingly innocent container ship can be converted overnight into a platform for missiles, drones, or worse. That's not science fiction. That's a very real possibility. And it's happening right now. But that's not all. China's growing fleet also controls the global supply chain. Every bolt, every engine, every piece of steel that goes into these ships. They've locked down raw materials, welding equipment, high-tech components, everything. That means every time America buys a ship, or even a single part, from a Chinese shipyard, we're putting our economic security in their hands. And do you really trust them with that kind of power? Now, let's talk about the fears that so many of you, our viewers, have left in the comments. Tracking devices kill switches. What if a Chinese-built ship suddenly stops working? At a critical moment, what if it starts leaking sensitive data about where it's sailing, what it's carrying? Could that ship become a Trojan horse, a threat to our national security? It's a chilling thought. And it's not just paranoia. China's shipyards and the government that controls them have a proven track record of leveraging commercial technology for military purposes. Think about it. A ship that's supposed to carry natural gas could become a floating weapon in the blink of an eye. That's the kind of risk we're talking about. LNG carriers, especially, are a key part of America's energy independence. Without them, our energy exports grind to a halt. If we rely on China's growing fleet to carry our LNG, what happens when a crisis hits? What happens if tensions rise and China decides to shut us down? Suddenly, America's energy security and every job that depends on it hangs in the balance. So, let me ask you, would you trust your family's future on a Chinese ship? Would you sleep at night knowing that our national security, our energy supply, and our economy could be held hostage by China's growing fleet? That's why this matters, and that's why America's shipbuilding boom isn't just about jobs. It's about freedom. So what's next? Let's talk about why every American should care and what's truly at stake in this battle for the seas. Why should every American care? What's really at stake when we talk about America's shipbuilding boom and China's growing fleet? Let's peel back the layers and see what's beneath the surface. First, national security. This isn't just about making ships. It's about protecting our way of life. America's shipbuilding boom is the backbone of our naval strength, our trade, our emergency response. Without it, we're at the mercy of foreign powers who may not share our values. And let's be clear, China's growing fleet isn't just a competitor, it's a strategic threat. Every ship they build is a potential advantage, one that could tip the scales in a crisis. But that's just the beginning. Think about supply chain resilience. When America's shipbuilding boom stalls, we become dependent on China's growing fleet to move our goods, our energy, our very economy. Imagine a world where a single political decision, one port closure, could shut down the flow of everything from medicine to food to the cars we drive. Would you trust that power in the hands of China's growing fleet? Now let's talk about prices. You've felt it. When supply chains get tangled, prices go up, and you pay the price. Gas. Groceries. The essentials that make everyday life possible. A shortage of US-built ships means higher shipping costs, costs that hit your wallet every single day. It's not just numbers on a balance sheet. It's the real cost of living. Let's get even more real. Jobs. Every ship America builds means jobs. High-paying, skilled jobs that support families, strengthen communities, and build pride. Imagine your son or daughter walking into a thriving shipyard, earning a good wage, learning a skill, contributing to something bigger than themselves. That's the America we all want to see. That's the promise of America's shipbuilding boom. Now, picture the opposite. Imagine a future where China's growing fleet dominates the seas, and America's shipbuilding boom is nothing but a memory. Imagine the heartbreak of telling your kids there are no jobs left because we gave away our future. Would you be able to sleep at night? This is why every American should care, because this isn't just about ships. It's about our security, our jobs, our pride, and our future. It's about whether we stand tall or bend to the will of others. America's shipbuilding boom is more than an industry. It's a lifeline. It's a promise that we are strong, resilient, and ready to face whatever comes our way. So what's left? Let's tie it all together and talk about how we can make sure America's shipbuilding boom truly rules the seas. So let's bring it home. America's shipbuilding boom is not just about ships. It's about jobs, security, and the American dream. It's about the pride that comes from knowing our future is built on American hands, not on China's growing fleet. Every ship built here is a symbol of our strength, our resilience, and our commitment to a better tomorrow. But let's be honest, China's growing fleet won't wait for us to catch up. Every day we hesitate, every time we doubt, China's growing fleet gains another step on us. The time to act is now. No more excuses, no more delays. America's shipbuilding boom has the power to take back the seas, but only if we have the courage to fight for it. So, I'm asking you, every share, every like helps spread the word. It shows the world that we believe in America's shipbuilding boom, and that we will not let China's growing fleet leave us behind. Let's build a stronger America. Together. And before you go, leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Do you believe America's shipbuilding boom can rise again? Do you see a future where America's shipyards are filled with hard-working men and women forging the tools of our independence? Or do you worry that China's growing fleet is a threat we can't overcome? I want to hear from you. Because your voice matters. The seas are vast, but so is America's spirit. Who will rule the seas? Let's find out together.